Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your viewing environment. We are here with you every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio, where you can discuss careers, finances, entrepreneurship. You can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families. You can discuss dating and relationships. Whatever's in your heart and whatever's on your mind, God is concerned about that which concerns you. And that's the reason that we are here for you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, which is brought to you daily by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock, where the water collects in a natural, sustainable artesian aquifer where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the blue cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery. And you'll save money at FijiWater.com. And right now, if you order 2 cases or more from FijiWater.com, you will receive a 25% discount on your order. It is not a subscription. 2 cases or more will provide you with a 25% discount because it is spring, and spring has sprung at FijiWater.com. This is not just ordinary water. This is Earth's finest water at FijiWater.com. And for those of you who continue giving on the Give segment of our app at New Life-Delaware, and those of you that have made a weekly or monthly commitment to support the broadcast by giving on the contribution pages of our websites at New Life Ministries International and New Life International CDC.com, we thank you for your support and for your commitment. It's New Life Ministries International.com and New Life International CDC.com. We know that you have made a commitment, and we fulfill our commitment to God to be here for you daily, from Monday through Friday, from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And of course, we are Facebook Live, we are YouTube Live, we are RadioFreeNetwork.com Live. Go to RadioFreeNetwork.com. You click on radio, the drop box will appear. Click on the New Life link. Every broadcast will be available to you. And also, we want to stay connected with you throughout the week. We want you to be encouraged, empowered, and inspired. So we now have launched our 24-hour, 7-day-a-week internet radio station, WKAP Faith Empowerment Radio. You can go to rdo.to/WKAP. You can hear music 24 hours a day, 7 days a week that will encourage you, empower you, and inspire you to be the best version of yourself that you can possibly become. And of course, you can always find us on RadioFreeNetwork.com. Click on radio and the drop box will appear. You will also see the WKAP link. So tune in, be encouraged, be empowered, and be inspired throughout the week, 24/7 at WKAP Faith Empowerment Radio. I want to begin by addressing a communication that came in from one of our listeners. However, I want to remind everyone also that the first Thursday of every month, unfortunately due to schedules and the holidays, our licensed and registered nutritionist, dietitian and nutritionist, Rebecca Boover, licensed and registered dietitian and nutritionist, was not with us last month, but she is going to be with us this Thursday. So you want to make sure you're tuned in. You don't want to miss the segments on health and wellness. We're going to get through as many of your communications. Of course, Rebecca always provides us with a topic, and we'll get through as many of your questions about health, wellness, diet, exercise, all of the things that will improve and enhance our health and wellness. So she will be with us the first Thursday of this month. We have a surprise for you. So I just want to make sure everyone tunes in. You don't want to miss that. On Thursday in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that your personal life has been great, And you said even during the pandemic, you have been able to maintain your personal life. However, your professional life is not going so well, and you want to know how can you improve your professional life. So let me begin by saying this. I was prayerful about this, and God allowed me to see in that secret place of your life so that I had clear understanding of what you were referring to during the pandemic. So let me just begin by saying, unfortunately, during the pandemic, you were moving around a little more than you needed to move around because you wanted to maintain your personal life while everything was going through the transition, the shutdown, the socially distancing. But you made every effort to focus on your personal life during the pandemic. So you feel that's been great. Your professional life has suffered because you give more attention to your personal life than you do to your professional life. So I understand that everyone likes to have a personal life. It's what we do with that personal life. What is it that we are doing that is going to keep our lives in balance? You spend all of your time focusing on your personal life. You spend very little time working on your professional life. And you think because you show up for work every day and you put in your 8 hours, and that's a problem in itself. And then I'm going to explain that to you in a moment. But you put in your 8 hours and you think that's enough to have a successful professional career. It's not enough to have a healthy and flourishing professional career. And let me tell you the reason why. Because you're showing up and doing the job. That's what you're doing. You're not going to accomplish any more than that because all you're doing is the job. Anyone who is a professional who is spending only 8 hours focusing on their professional career is going to have a very limited professional career. You cannot spend more time on your personal life than you do on your professional life. And I'm going to break that down. Some of our listeners and viewers have heard me talk about this before. The minimum that we have to put in. Now, the Bible tells us to work from sun up to sundown. The first hour of the day is 6 a.m. So, till 6 p.m. So essentially, that's 12 hours a day. But I'm going to show you from a corporate perspective how you can have success once you've maximized your effectiveness and your efficiency. So there are 5 categories that we really need to focus on. And we need to give 2 hours a day to each of those categories. So that translates, here we go with math again. I know you're probably saying, Pastor Pope, you do a lot of math. Well, numbers are everything. Numbers never lie. So listen, think about this. There's 66 books in the Bible. So as a pastor, I'm just going to run this down. There's 66 books in the Bible. There's 1,189 chapters. There's a reason that numbers mean something. Okay, because that's the fullness of God right there. So think about this. There is an administrative aspect to business. There's a development aspect to business. There's a management aspect to business. And there's a marketing aspect for business. And there's an operational aspect to business. So that's 5 categories that we have to allocate 2 hours a day to each of those. And that automatically means that we're working 10 hours a day. And then you may have commute time. So you got to add an hour before and an hour after. So that's where the 12 hours come in. But we need to spend at least 10 hours a day, minimum 5 days a week. And then we rest on the Sabbath. We always have to make certain that we use one of the days on the weekends to review what we've accomplished during the week and what we need to accomplish in the week moving forward. So you're always focusing on how you can maximize your professional success. You're spending more time on how you can maximize your personal success. The problem with that is there's going to be ebbs and flows in your personal life. And the reason is because there are other people involved in your personal life. So there's going to be moments where you have good periods of time in your personal life, and then there's going to be moments where there's some challenges that you have to deal with in your personal life, whether it's family or whether it's friends. The reality is that you can never spend more time on personal things than you do on your professional life. You really have to determine, what can I do to be more effective in every aspect of each of those categories? What can you do to be more effective and more efficient from an administrative aspect? What can you do to be more effective and efficient from a development aspect? And what can you do to be more effective and efficient from a management aspect? Whether you're managing yourself, your lifestyle, your time, or other people. What can you, so I guess I need to go a little further into each of these categories, because I don't want anyone to miss this. God is doing something in all of our lives daily. He doesn't pick and choose what weeks he wants to deal with each of us. He's doing something in our lives every single day. And we have to recognize that. So we have to say, what can I do to be more effective and more efficient from an administrative aspect? So that means all the administrative things that you must do, whether it's hiring contractors for work that needs to be done in or around your home, or if it's buying supplies from the office supply store. Those are all administrative duties. Do you need to schedule appointments for your annual physical? Do you need to schedule an appointment for your semi-annual or quarterly, depending on your insurance, dental visit for a dental cleaning? Those are all administrative things. And you really have to put 2 hours a day aside for those administrative things, whether it's responsibilities that you have to perform or whether you're hiring other people to do certain responsibilities. Okay. And then there's the development aspect. How are you going to develop your own life, both personally and professionally? How are you going to manage the balance of your personal life? And how are you going to develop yourself to become the best version of yourself that you can possibly become? So, health is wealth. So we have to look at, what can I do to improve my health and wellness? Now, we're in a region of the country that has 4 seasons. And so everyone who knows me knows I love to run. Maybe I don't love to run as much as I like to eat, so I have to run to get some exercise so I can stay healthy and well. So, but everyone that knows me knows I love to get out and run. We're entering into the season for me. Now, other people will run year round, but I don't like running in the cold weather. So during the winter, I only run when it gets above 50 degrees. Now, if we get a day that's above 50 degrees, I get out and run. I work out at home, but I get out and run. As soon as it gets warm, I start running. And I go to the gym at least 3 days a week. And I run at least 3 days a week, and hopefully get to play some golf 3 days a week. And I'm saying all of that to say that's good for health and wellness. All of that, getting enough steps. Once upon a time they said you needed a minimum of 5,000 steps. Well, now we find out you really need a minimum of 6,000 steps. I really try to get 10,000 steps. And when I run, I can, by the end of the day, I can pretty much run and play golf. I can pretty much end up with 20,000 steps. But it all averages out. The goal is to develop ourselves. So what are you doing to develop your mind? How are you really maximizing your cognitive skills? So all of that is part of your development. And then the management aspect, managing our lifestyle. What are we doing to make certain that we perform at the highest level? Are we getting enough sleep? How about that? You've got to want to try and accomplish at least 8 hours of sleep a night. Is it going to happen every day? Probably not, because we're all busy people. But at least if you're trying to get 8, you might get 7. The days that you're not as busy, you might get 9. That's a great thing, but it all averages out. The goal is to average about 8 hours of sleep a night. And then we have to ask ourselves, are we putting things into our body that are going to enhance our health and wellness, or are we putting things in our body that are going to disrupt our health and wellness? So that's part of managing your lifestyle. Managing your time includes going back and making sure that you allocate the right amount of time for each of these categories, and then marketing ourselves. How are we branding ourselves, both publicly and online? How are we branding ourselves? How are we marketing ourselves to the world, for lack of a better term? And then the operational aspects, all of the things that we have to do to keep things moving in an effective manner and an efficient manner. You know, there's so many moving parts, so many components of life to business, to our professional lives, that we really have to make certain that our operations are like a fine, well-oiled machine. Are there going to be days that are better than others? Absolutely. But all of those other things we talked about will help us to get to that place, to make certain that we're performing at the highest level. Operations requires us to perform at the highest level. So you have to ask yourself, are you performing at the highest level? And you've already told me through your communication, you're not. You're only doing enough to make sure you have a job, not enough to maximize your professional success. So that's something that you can, these are some things that you can do that will improve your professional career, your professional life. If you can look at your day and say you've spent more time on trying to focus on your personal life than you spent on your professional life, you're not going to maximize your success. So you've got to make sure that the professional life is more time is spent on your professional life than it is on your personal life. Because some of what you're doing at work is focusing on what you're going to do on the weekend, how you're going to engage with your friends. You're spending time at work doing that too. So you didn't know it, but your personal time, your personal life has more time allocated to it than your professional life. And that's why you're not having the success in your professional life that you desire. It can be improved. You can do this. You can make those changes. And then you'll find that your professional life becomes even more successful than your personal life. But your personal life, you'll have the opportunity to enjoy. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. So if you're not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will move you into our queue so that you may become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill. At T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you went on a date with your friend's brother, and you said you followed my instructions asking about his 7-year plan. However, even though you are attracted to him, he does not have a clear plan, a clear 7-year plan, and he is age 35. Okay, first of all, let me set the record straight. You didn't follow my instructions. You followed part of my instructions. So here's what happened. Your friend has a brother. You're attracted to the brother. The brother's attracted to you. Your friend tells you that her brother's attracted to you. He hadn't said anything to you. He said it to her. You decide that you'll go out on a date with him. Now here's where you started following the instruction when you ask about the 7-year plan. But you didn't ask him to take you to church first. You didn't invite him to come to your church and then out to lunch You went out on a date, and you went out on a date for dinner. Now, so I want to set the record straight because I don't want anyone being confused that the instruction that the Lord gave me to give to all of our listeners and viewers doesn't work, because that's not true. It works if you follow all of the instructions. You don't deviate from the instructions because you want to circumvent the rule so that you can do what you want to do. So here's the thing, and I'm laughing because I know you're laughing because I had a little exchange with you about this. So here's the reality. Because it was your friend's brother, you could have done a lot of research prior to the two of you going out on a date. You could have done some research by asking your friend, does your brother go to church? And she would have told you, he doesn't attend church. You could have, and it could have stopped right there. You could have asked your sister, well, ask his sister, why don't you and I invite him to church with us? I'd like him to go to church, and then we can all go out to lunch. So you could have really eliminated some of what you're challenged with now, because now your concern is, how do you tell your friend that you're not going to be able to build a relationship with her brother? You know, this is part of the problem with getting out of the order of God. Because we all, look, because he's attracted to you and because you're attracted to him, this is how we got into some of the problems we got into in the past in our lifetime. We found someone attractive to our eyes and didn't examine the heart, the intent of the heart. The reason he doesn't have a 7-year plan is because he doesn't have a relationship with the Lord. He doesn't attend church. He doesn't do any of that. He's living in the world. And you've seen signs of that because you know you're friends with his sister, but you ignored the signs. You know, it's like driving down the road. So everybody that knows me knows I don't have a need for speed. You know, that's not my thing. And I often tell my family, you know, if the sign says 35 miles an hour, if it says speed limit 35, you should be going 35. Not 40, not 45, not 50, 35. If it didn't want you to go 35, if it didn't set the speed limit at 35, it set that limit for safety reasons. If you don't adhere to the speed limit because you think it's not important, you need to know that if they wanted you to go faster than 35 in that zone, the sign wouldn't say speed limit, it would just say speed 35, which means you can decide if you want to go over 35 or under 35. Doesn't matter. But there's a reason that it says speed limit. If you're on a highway and it says 55, you should be doing 55. If it says 65, you should be doing 65. The point is, all of this is done by a science. Partly by actuarial science, partly by safety measures determined by the Department of Transportation. You get it. The reality is that you missed the signs. You know, that's like driving down the road and there's a red light and you just drive through the red light. Inevitably, if you drive through every red light, sooner or later, you're going to inevitably get into a crash. It's not going to work out very well. What you have to recognize is that if you're going to start dating someone without adhering to the right method of dating, inevitably it's not going to work out. So you have to say to yourself, you missed the signs and you decided to go out with your friend's brother. You're both attracted to one another. But he has no 7-year plan and he's 35. Here's what's interesting. When you have no 7-year plan, you have nothing planned except to get up in the morning. You don't have anything to work towards accomplishing. You're getting up and you're living life. He's still living in the world, and you think that that's going to work out for you. You've got to know that that's not going to work out for you. And then eventually what's going to happen is that when the two of you break up, it's going to cause a rift in your friendship with his sister. You have to recognize, because that's not a strong friendship, it's just a friendship. So there was a lot of things that could have been done differently. And let me share with you what they are, just so that all of our listeners and viewers who might go through a similar situation will get a better understanding. You could have done your research by talking to his sister. Does he go to church? If he doesn't go to church, how about this? How about if we invite him to go to church? Because if he's really interested in you, he would have gone with you and his sister to church and then out to lunch. The three of you could have gone out to lunch. And then you could have asked the question, what's your 7-year plan? Because here's the reality. If he has no 7-year plan, and I'm not even talking about someone who's implementing the 7-year plan, I'm talking about just having a strategy for a 7-year plan. Here's my plan. Haven't started to implement it yet because I haven't changed jobs. This is what I want for the next 7 years, and part of that is I'm seeking employment, but I've been busy. I haven't sent out my resume yet, but I'm going to do that next week. That's my plan. Then you have to follow through. So when you set a plan, the problem is when you have a 7-year plan, for most people the problem is they then have to implement it. They have to take the next steps. They have to take the necessary steps. And they have to continue to work the plan. If you work the plan, success will come. There may be some disappointments along the way, but success will eventually come because you're working. Here's a newsflash. If we're getting up every day and putting in the effort to work our plan, sooner or later, the plan will come to fruition because God will continue to move in our lives. God will do what we're not able to do. God will do what we're not capable of doing, even if it's part of our plan. Because if you have a thought about developing a product that's going to have an impact on society, you may have an idea what the product is, but you may not know how to develop it. But God will move in you in a way, put you in front of people that may be able to help you to get to where you're able to not only implement, but be successful in developing your product. Implementing the plan. So I just wanted to be clear that you didn't follow the instructions. You followed part of the instruction. Now, if you want to go back and revisit this, you're going to have to go back and do it the right way. The problem is you've already rang the bell, and you might find it's not easy to unring a bell. You may be able to ring it a different way. Instead of one ding, you might be able to 2 dings on the bell. In other words, you may be able to do something. You may be able to go back and do something different. But just invite them to church on Sunday. You're not in our area, but invite them to your church on Sunday. Okay? And if he says no, right there, just tell his sister, listen, I need someone who's interested in developing a relationship with the Lord. Stop it right there. Don't get into a messy situation that will also just destroy your friendship over a relationship that you just find someone attractive and he finds you attractive also. It's not worth it. Today's 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, has been brought to you by Fiji Water. A taste of paradise will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. I want to remind everyone that we have 2 other sponsors, Charles Terrett at ctshirt.com Charles Tirrett at ctshirts.com and The White Company at thewhitecompany.com. You can go to online to Charles Tirrett, order. They will ship and deliver right to your front door at ctshirts.com and The White Company at thewhitecompany.com. Both will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. I want you to remember that we